अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आज आपकी मुलाकात डॉक्टर तलत अफजा से मनी एंड बैंकिंग के 29th लेक्चर में हो रही है। अब इस कोर्स में बेसिकली वी आर ट्राइंग टू टॉक अबाउट द फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम ऑफ एन इकोनॉमी एंड इन द वेरी बिगिनिंग वी सेड कि देयर आर 5 कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ अ फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम। देन वी सेड कि फर्स्ट कंपोनेंट इज मनी, then is financial instruments, financial markets, financial institutions and finally the central bank. तो इसी तरह हमने इन कंपोनेंट को वन बाय वन कवर करना शुरू कर दिया। सो फार जस्ट टू रिवाइज हमने जो 3 कंपोनेंट कवर कर लिए हैं फुली, उनमें हमारे पास है मनी, फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस एंड फाइनेंशियल मार्केट्स। इसके साथ साथ एक और कंपोनेंट भी चौथा जो कि फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स का है, वो भी मार्केट्स के साथ ही हमने कवर कर लिया है। तो जो हमारा पिछला लेक्चर था दैट वाज बेसिकली अ कंक्लूजन ऑन आवर 4th कंपोनेंट व्हिच इज द फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन एंड स्टार्टिंग ऑफ द न्यू व्हिच इज द सेंट्रल बैंक। तो इसलिए मैं चाहूंगी कि हम थोड़ा सा रिवाइज कर लें अपने पिछले लेक्चर को बिफोर वी टेक अ स्टार्ट ऑन आवर न्यू लेक्चर। नाउ टुडेस लेक्चर बेसिकली इज द 5th कंपोनेंट, द सेंट्रल बैंक। बट बिफोर दैट वी हैव समथिंग इन बिटवीन, द रेगुलेशंस एंड द नीड फॉर द सेंट्रल बैंक। So let's revise the previous lecture. We said the 4th component is that of the financial institutions, and there we divided our financial institutions into 2 broad categories. एक था हमारा कमर्शियल बैंक्स, जिनको हम कह सकते हैं डिपॉजिटरी फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस। ये वो इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं जो कि एक्सेप्ट करते हैं डिपॉजिट्स को, और फिर उनमें से या तो लेंड आउट कर देते हैं या फिर क्या है कि इन्वेस्ट कर देते हैं इन सिक्योरिटीज। नॉर्मली द डिपॉजिट रेट्स आर लोअर देन द लैंडिंग रेट्स और द इन्वेस्टिंग रेट्स। सो द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द 2 रेट्स इज द प्रॉफिट फॉर द डिपॉजिटरी फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस। कमर्शियल बैंक्स आर वेरी गुड एग्जांपल्स। उसके बाद we started talking about the non-depository financial institutions. अब non-depository financial institutions, they again fall into various categories. There we talked about the insurance companies as one of the leading non-depository financial institutions, and then we talked about the securities firms. Within the securities firm we said there are various type of firms. अब उसमें हमारे पास था म्यूचुअल फंड्स, ब्रोकरेज फर्म्स, और उसके बाद वी सेड कि देयर इज समथिंग नोन एज द फाइनेंस कंपनीज, और फाइनली नॉन डिपॉजिटरी फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस के अंदर वी सेड गवर्नमेंट स्पॉन्सर्ड फाइनेंशियल एंटरप्राइजेस। सो लेट्स रिव्यू ऑल ऑफ देम अ लिटिल बिट बिफोर वी टेक ऑन अ स्टार्ट टू अनदर टॉपिक। तो हमने ये कहा कि हमारी जो इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज हैं, व्हाट डू दे डू? वी आर ऑल फेमिलियर विद द इंश्योरेंस बिजनेस। व्हेनेवर वी परचेज एनी टाइप ऑफ इंश्योरेंस, वेदर इट इज द लाइफ इंश्योरेंस, प्रॉपर्टी और द कैजुअलिटी इंश्योरेंस, द रूल ऑफ द गेम इज कि वी पे एन इंश्योरेंस प्रीमियम। आफ्टर पेइंग द इंश्योरेंस प्रीमियम, व्हाट हैव वी डन? और वो प्रीमियम हमने रेगुलर बेसिस पे करना है। और हमने क्या किया है? वी हैव कवर्ड आवर रिस्क ऑफ एन अनएक्सपेक्टेड अनप्लेजेंट इवेंट। लाइफ इंश्योरेंस में हमने ये कहा कि देयर आर 2 कैटेगरीज, वन इज द टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस एंड द अदर इज होल लाइफ इंश्योरेंस। टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस में you pay the premium on regular basis And in case of the death of the insurer, what happens? The beneficiaries are paid the amount insured. This is more of coverage of the risk of death, and the benefit goes to the beneficiaries. Whereas दूसरी तरफ हमारे पास है टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस के साथ साथ होल लाइफ इंश्योरेंस, and there we have the feature of the term life insurance, but along with it we also have an element of savings in that, and this is becoming more popular nowadays. So you have the risk coverage for the event of death, and the benefit will go to your beneficiaries, but at the same time you can also cancel the insurance. You can withdraw your amount. You can ask for the amount at maturity. You can simply say that this life insurance policy should be maturing when the insurer reaches the age of 65, 70, 75, whatever you choose. Now the insurance companies, they collect the insurance premium amount, and then out of that they make investments, and normally those investments are the long-term investments, stocks and bonds. Similarly, when we are talking about the casualty and the property insurance, we are safeguarding ourselves against fire, theft of our property or any other unpleasant event, and the rule of the game remains the same. The only difference between the property insurance and the casualty and the life insurance is, like, property and casualty we can put into one category, and the life we can put into another category. So in case of life insurance, the investments by the insurance company, they are made for a long period of time. Whereas in case of property and casualty insurance, the investments are made not for a long term, maybe short and the medium term investments. And then we said another non-depository institution is our securities firm. Now within this securities firm, we said one good example is the brokerage firm. Now the brokerage firms are the firms which provide the investor an access to the secondary market. For example, the broker through whom we can make an investment in the stock market. Stock market is a secondary market. Now these firms, they provide you the access, plus they can also lend you out. They can make loans to the investors or the customers or the account holders. As well as if you have opened up an account with the brokerage firm and there is some balance remaining in your account, you can also have the check writing facility against that account. So the brokerage firm also provides you with the liquidity. Then we said, along with the brokerage firm, there is another category of the securities firm. Investment banks. They act on behalf of the companies. They help the companies to sell shares and the debt in the marketplace, and they provide them with the underwriting services. And we also discussed the underwriting procedure in detail. Moreover, they also provide advice to the bank about the pricing of the stocks and the bonds. Furthermore, they also help the companies in case of mergers and the acquisitions. And then we talked about the mutual funds as another category of the securities firm. Mutual fund, they also sell the shares to the general public, collect the amount and make the investment, and then the profit is distributed to the shareholders. So these were some of the securities firm, and then we talked about the finance companies. Now in the category of finance companies, we said these companies, they are going to sell the commercial papers, and then through that they can raise funds, and then they can make loan to the individuals as well as to the businesses. Overall role of the finance companies is also the intermediation between the savers and the investors. By the way, ये जितनी भी हम बात कर रहे हैं नॉन डिपॉजिटरी फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस की, they are all intermediaries between the savers and the investors. And the same thing is true about the depository financial institutions. They are also the financial intermediaries in between the savers and the investors. And then finally we said, among the category of non-depository financial institution, we have the last category, which is the government-sponsored enterprises, in which the government gives them the charter or government provides the guarantees. But the rule remains the same. For example, in case of Pakistan, we can talk about the House Building Finance Corporation, where that particular corporation provides loan to the owners who wants to own a house, who wants to construct a house. Similarly, we can talk about the Khushhali Bank. We can talk about the Zarai Tarqiyati Bank. We can talk about the small and medium enterprise bank. All of these, they have one objective, that they have one specific area in which they are focusing, but behind the back of all of these institutions is the government of Pakistan. Because the government wants to promote certain areas and the funding is provided and guarantees and the backup is also provided by the government of Pakistan. So that basically concludes our non-depository institutions, and therefore we also have completed our fourth topic, which is that of the financial institutions. Afterwards, we started talking about another topic, where we were talking to why there is a need to regulate the financial system. Why are financial systems, whether be it in Pakistan or be it in any other country, why do they collapse? What are the reasons behind it? And there we said, there is one phenomena which is known as the bank run. And related to that is bank panic, and then of course the failure of the bank and the damage done to the financial institutions and the financial system. And there we said that it is not very uncommon to hear about the financial crisis in any of the countries. आपको याद होगा कि आपको एक स्लाइड पे हमने ये भी दिखाया था कि worst financial crisis in some of the countries. East Asian crisis is one good example, and there are so many other examples. So whenever a financial system of any country collapses, whenever the system collapses, what happens? It also damages the growth of the country. Because the financial system is one of the very vital organ of the growth of an economy. And then we also said that wherever there was a financial crisis, it definitely had a negative effect on the growth of the economy. And how do we measure the growth of an economy? The growth of the economy mostly is measured by the growth in the GDP. So we also looked at the data set where we said, okay, how much percentage of the GDP was used to correct these financial imbalances. And those imbalances, by the way, occur due to the failure of the financial system, and that failure was due to the panic and the bank run. And then we said, okay, why do these panics and these failures, they take place? And we found out because of the very nature of the financial system, the panics and the failures, they take place. Now the banks and the depository institutions, they are the custodian of our deposits. And we also said, our deposits are the liabilities of the bank, whereas the assets of the bank, they consist of the investments they have made in securities, as well as the loans banks have given to the individuals and the businesses. The depositors have every right to come to the bank and ask for the withdrawal of money. So when a depositor comes to withdraw the money and the bank pays the money to the depositor, the transaction is completed. But somehow, if a large number of depositors, they start thinking about a scenario in which they think that the bank doesn't have much cash available to meet our demands. Non-availability of the cash, जैसे कि पहले मैंने कहा, is known as the illiquidity. And then we also talked about a related concept, which is the solvency of the bank. Now the solvency is different from liquidity. Solvency means if the assets are more than the liabilities, then bank is solvent. Or bank has a positive net worth. But if bank doesn't have the sufficient cash, then the bank is illiquid. We can come across a situation in which a bank can be solvent, but it cannot be liquid. So what matters in a bank run and banking panic is the illiquidity of the bank. If more and more customers, depositors, by customers, what I mean here is the depositors. So if more and more of the depositors, they come to the bank for the withdrawal of the funds, there is a likelihood that if the bank is illiquid, the bank will not be able to meet the depositors' demand. And this is known as a run on a bank, which can also create a panic in the banking industry. If the people start thinking about a scenario in which the other banks, they also have the same situation, then we call this scenario that one bank failure is affecting the liquidity and the withdrawals of the other banks. We say this is contagion, because the banks are interdependent. One reason for the bank panic and the failure is psychological, and the other is also the real reason. There can be real reasons. अगर हम real reasons की बात करना चाहते हैं, तो we need to look at the asset side of the bank. बैंक की asset side के ऊपर हमारे पास क्या चीज है? loans, और दूसरी क्या चीज है? securities. So any event जो के बैंक के एसेट्स की वैल्यू को कम करता है. In other words, any reason which basically brings the value of the securities down results in the shrinkage of the assets. And similarly, any action which brings the value of the loan down, which is the non-payment, also brings the value of the bank down. So what happens basically? During the period of recession, the ability of the borrower to repay the loan declines. And due to this, they are unable to repay the loan, and if the securities value they also decrease, then the net worth of the bank shrinks. Now when the net worth of the bank shrinks, what happens? The banks are unable to make further loans. Their profitability decreases and it becomes difficult for the bank to survive. The failure of the one bank can lead to the failure of another bank as well, because the same scenario. Now, whether our banking panic and failure is due to the psychological factor or they are due to the real factors, the ultimate result is the bank failure. And because of this failure of several banks, overall financial system of the economy also becomes shaky. Now the banking sector, other financial institutions, depository and non-depository institutions, they all are definitely getting some negative impact. And if the financial system of any country is not performing well, then the overall performance and the growth of the economy also is hurt. Therefore, there is a need for the government to intervene. In order to intervene and provide support to the financial system, the government has made certain safety nets. Now, when the government enforces the safety nets, there are three basic reasons. Number one, the government wants to protect the investors. Number two, the government wants to safeguard the interest of the depositor from the exploitation of monopolistic competition. And thirdly, the government wants to ensure the stability of the financial system. So let's look at these three one by one. Investor protection is the one. We say small investors are unable to judge the soundness of financial institution. In practice, only force of law ensure the bank's integrity. Thus, investors rely on government to protect them from mismanagement and malfeasance. Basically, what are we trying to say here? The investors, they are small, they cannot spend time and money to find out the soundness of the financial institution in which they have invested. Therefore, the government steps in, और गवर्नमेंट जो है वो हेल्प आउट करती है बाय एनफोर्सिंग सर्टेन रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन ऑन दोज फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन इन ऑर्डर टू सेफगार्ड द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ स्मॉल इन्वेस्टर्स. Secondly, government wants to protect the depositor from the monopolistic exploitation of financial institution. जैसे कि हम मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स में देखते हैं, there are various types of market structure. एक एक्सट्रीम पे हमारे पास मोनोपोली है जिसमें एक सिंगल प्रोड्यूसर है, दूसरे में हमारे पास परफेक्ट कंपटीशन है. कंपटीशन हमेशा एफिशिएंसी लाता है और बेनिफिट जो है दैट ऑलवेज गोज टू द बायर्स. दूसरी तरफ मोनोपोली में ऑल द बेनिफिट goes to the single supplier, single producer, because there is no competition. But in between we have monopoly and competition, perfect competition and monopoly. We have the oligopolies and monopolistic competition. So the government also protects the deposit holders from the monopolistic exploitation of the financial institution through certain rules and regulations. So monopolists exploit their customers by raising prices to earn unwarranted profits. Government intervenes to prevent firms in an industry from becoming too large. And the same is true for the banking sector. क्योंकि किसी भी सेक्टर में जब कोई मोनोपोली बन जाती है, दो तीन अगर प्रोड्यूसर हैं and they join hands and they start behaving like a monopoly. Monopoly में they can charge a price which cannot be challenged by any other producer because there is no other producer. So they can charge a very high price, and as a result they can earn higher profits. So the government protects basically depositor through rules and regulation, and as per those rules and regulation, the financial institutions cannot form the monopolies. And thirdly, we said the government wants to stabilize the financial system. The stability of the financial system is a prerequisite for the economic growth of any country. Because the financial system provides the channel through which the surplus funds from one sector of the economy are transferred to another sector of the economy where they are put into a good use. They make investments, and that results in higher level of production and higher level of GDP. So for the stability of financial system, the liquidity risk and information asymmetry indicate the instability of financial system. Now what happens if the financial institutions, they are not liquid? जैसे कि पहले भी हमने बात की है कि जब भी कभी बैंकिंग पैनिक होता है, बैंक रन होता है, वो क्यों फैलता है? वो इसीलिए फैलता है कि जब हमारे फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम में हमारे इंस्टीट्यूशन जो हैं वो इतने लिक्विड नहीं रहते, और दूसरी तरफ हमारे इन्वेस्टर्स के पास फुल इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं होती. इंफॉर्मेशन एसिमेट्री इज देयर. तो गवर्नमेंट इंटरवीन करती है थ्रू द रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन ताकि फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम के अंदर इलिक्विडिटी एंड इंफॉर्मेशन एसिमेट्री जैसे प्रॉब्लम्स को ओवरकम किया जा सके. So these are some of the reasons for the government to have certain level of safety nets in order to avoid the bank runs and bank failures and banking panic. अब हमारे जो गवर्नमेंट है, how do they intervene? The government officials employ a combination of strategies to protect investors and ensure the stability of the financial system. They provide the safety net to ensure small depositors, and they operate as the lender of last resort. कि हमारे जो officials हैं, government officials हैं, they have three objectives. Number one, जैसे कि पहले कहा, to protect the small investor. Number two, to safeguard the interest of the depositor from the exploitation of the monopolies. And thirdly, to make the financial system stable. अब हमारे ये गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल्स जो हैं वो किस तरह इसको इम्प्लीमेंट करते हैं? दो मेजर टाइप्स और कैटेगरीज ऑफ एक्शंस हैं. एक है कि गवर्नमेंट जो है दे एक्ट एज द लेंडर ऑफ द लास्ट रिजॉर्ट, और दूसरे में क्या है कि दे टॉक अबाउट कि a scenario in which through the rules and regulation they try to bring this stability. And then we can talk about safety nets like deposit insurance, regulations like minimum capital requirement, asset to loan ratio, and similar types of rules and regulations. Now before we go into the detail of it, we need to look at the role of the depository institutions. हमारे जो डिपॉजिटरी इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं उनका एक यूनिक रोल है इन एन इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम. फर्स्टली, these financial institutions, they provide us access to the payment. The payment system of any country is controlled, regulated, implemented through these financial institutions. Therefore, they face certain unique problems as well. And the problem is, whenever the depositors, they want to withdraw the funds, and they start feeling like the financial institutions are not that much liquid. So they go for more withdrawals. More and more depositors, they can come for the withdrawal. And that can result in panic, bank run, and definitely the bank failure. Number 2, they are linked to each other both on their balance sheet and in their customers' mind. What does it mean? इसका मतलब ये है कि हमारे फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस जो हैं, they also go for borrowing from one another. एक बैंक अगर for the time being temporarily is illiquid, that bank can borrow from the other bank. So the banks are interconnected. And if there is panic in the minds of the customer, if the customers think a certain bank is illiquid, there is a possibility that the depositors of the other banks, they can also start thinking the same way, that probably my bank can also be illiquid. So this interconnectedness of the banks, that poses a serious problem to the stability of the financial system. Therefore, what is the remedy? What is the role of the government officials? Now, the government here acts as the lender of the last resort. So they will say the best way to stop a bank failure from turning into a panic is to make sure solvent institution can meet their depositors' withdrawal demand. यानी कि जब भी एक बैंक फेल हो जाता है, और हमने ये कहा था कि साइकोलॉजिकली दूसरे बैंक के डिपॉजिटर्स भी ये समझने लगते हैं कि देयर इज अ डेंजर कि मेरा बैंक भी इलिक्विड है, और इसकी वजह से एक बैंकिंग पैनिक फैल जाता है, विच मे रिजल्ट इन द फेल्योर ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम एंड द बैंकिंग सिस्टम मे कोलैप्स. The government steps in as the lender of the last resort, and they can make loan to the solvent banks, the banks which are solvent but illiquid, कि उनके पास एसेट ज्यादा है लाइबिलिटी से, उनकी नेट वर्थ इज पॉजिटिव, लेकिन करंटली they do not have sufficient liquid funds to meet the demand of the depositors. So the officials should make loans to the illiquid but solvent bank, and through this they can avoid the existence of, or maybe they can just give an expression in the minds of the depositors that the sufficient funds are available with the banks. And through this we can say कि एक बैंक की failure cannot lead to the failure of the other bank, and we cannot call it as the contagion. Now, for the system to work, central bank officials who approve the loan applications must be able to distinguish an illiquid from an insolvent bank. कि अब एक possibility ये भी है कि अगर हम ये कहें कि एक बैंक illiquid है और सेंट्रल बैंक जो है वो उसको as a lender of the last resort provide करता है funds to meet the depositor demand. But what if the bank was insolvent? इसलिए सेंट्रल बैंक को एक इंसॉल्वेंट बैंक को एक सॉल्वेंट बैंक से अलहदा करके सॉल्वेंट बैंक को जो है वो लोन देना चाहिए. Why that is true and why that is important? क्योंकि अगर सेंट्रल बैंक एक इंसॉल्वेंट बैंक को लोन दे देगा तो उससे क्या होगा कि there is a possibility कि बैंक can default on the repayment of the loan. And the banks, if they start assuming कि whenever they will be illiquid, regardless of their financial position, whether they are solvent or insolvent, if the central bank is there to lend them as a lender of last resort, they will start taking too much risk. And this will create a moral hazard in the eyes of the banks. और बैंक क्या करेंगे कि वो ज्यादा इन्वेस्ट करना शुरू कर देंगे. They will start assuming more risk. क्योंकि उनको ये होगा कि एज अ लेंडर ऑफ द लास्ट रिसोर्ट दे कैन गो टू द सेंट्रल बैंक एंड बोरो फंड व्हेनेवर द डिपॉजिटर्स विल आस्क फॉर देयर मनी बैक. So they need to be, the officials, they need to be very, very careful. But there are certain problems created by the government safety net. The first one is that the depositors who are saved by the central bank in the form that whenever the bank is illiquid, the central bank acts as the lender of the last resort, and whenever they want to withdraw their funds from the bank, they can easily get their funds. So this creates a moral hazard, a scenario in which the depositors, they will not monitor the operations of the bank. They will be relaxed. उनको ये पता है कि उनको फंड्स मिल जाएंगे चाहे बैंक खुद दे या सेंट्रल बैंक से बोरो करके दे. उसके साथ साथ एक और प्रॉब्लम है सेफ्टी नेट्स के वजह से पैदा होते हैं जो, और वो ये है कि हमारे बैंक्स दे कैन एंटर इनटू रिस्की वेंचर्स. बाय रिस्की वेंचर्स व्हाट वी मीन हियर इज कि दे कैन इन्वेस्ट मोर एंड मोर in order to earn higher profit without the proper screening of those projects. और जिसकी वजह से क्या होगा, they know कि जब भी उनके कस्टमर्स जो हैं, कस्टमर्स आर द डिपॉजिटर्स, कि वो डिपॉजिटर्स जो हैं जब भी विड्रॉ के लिए आएंगे, इफ दे विल हैव सफिशिएंट फंड तो वो दे देंगे उनको बैंक खुद. Otherwise, they can borrow from the central bank. Therefore, because of the role of the central bank as the lender of the last resort, बैंक जो है वो ज्यादा risky projects में invest करेंगे and that will bring a moral hazard. तो अब हम इसको conclude किस तरह करेंगे कि हमारे गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल्स जो हैं दे इंटरवीन इनटू द फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम फॉर 3 बेसिक रीजंस: टू प्रोटेक्ट द इन्वेस्टर्स, टू सेफगार्ड द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द डिपॉजिटर्स एंड फॉर द स्टेबिलिटी ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम. हाउ डू दे डू दैट? दे एक्ट एज द लेंडर ऑफ द लास्ट रिसोर्ट. जब भी कोई बैंक प्रॉब्लम में है, लिक्विडिटी प्रॉब्लम है, they can go and borrow from the central bank. But of course there is a negative side effect जिसको हम कहते हैं moral hazard. और वो ये है, एक तरफ तो डिपॉजिटर्स जो हैं they will not be monitoring the working of the bank, और दूसरी तरफ बैंक जो है they will start taking more and more risk. So the safety nets, they can stabilize the system, but at the same time, they can also create the moral hazards. Now, this is one side of it. लेकिन इसके साथ साथ हम खुद भी बात करते हैं about the rules and regulations, supervisions, where we are talking about setting up certain standards and then supervising and monitoring whether those standards are met. तो इसके लिए the central bank has a very important role. Central bank जो है rules and regulations बनाता है in order to have a stable financial system. लेकिन सिर्फ rules and regulation बना देने ही से नहीं हमारा सिस्टम जो है वो स्टेबल हो जाता, बल्कि क्या होता है कि we need to evaluate the performance of the banks in the light of those rules and regulations, and we also need to monitor their performance. So what we have here, regulation and supervision of the financial system. The government official employs 3 strategies to ensure that the risks created by the safety net are contained. जैसा कि अभी हमने ये कहा था कि सेफ्टी नेट्स जो हैं वो 3 ऑब्जेक्टिव के तहत गवर्नमेंट थ्रू द सेंट्रल बैंक फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम की स्टेबिलिटी के लिए इस्तेमाल करते हैं, लेकिन मॉरल हैजर्ड भी पैदा हो जाती हैं। इसलिए इन ऑर्डर टू टेक केयर ऑफ दोज मॉरल हैजर्ड, हमारे रेगुलेटर्स जो हैं वो सर्टेन रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस जो हैं वो बनाते हैं। सो रेगुलेशंस जो हैं दे एस्टैब्लिश रूल्स फॉर द बैंक मैनेजर्स टू फॉलो, देन सुपरविजन प्रोवाइड्स जनरल ओवरसाइट ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन and examination provides the detailed information on the firm's operations. अब इनमें रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस में भी हमारे पास मुख्तलिफ किस्म के रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस जो हैं वो मौजूद हैं। रेगुलेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट आर डिजाइन टू मिनिमाइज द कॉस्ट ऑफ फेल्योर्स टू द टैक्स पेइंग पब्लिक। अब इसमें जो है सबसे पहले देयर इज वन रिक्वायरमेंट, और वो ये है कि कोई भी डिपॉजिटरी इंस्टीट्यूशन या नॉन डिपॉजिटरी इंस्टीट्यूशन जो है बिफोर एस्टैब्लिशिंग इटसेल्फ दे नीड द अप्रूवल ऑफ द सेंट्रल बैंक। सेंट्रल बैंक प्रॉपरली उनको स्क्रीन करते हैं और स्क्रीनिंग के बाद दे गिव देम अ गो हेड सिग्नल। सो द फर्स्ट हैंड स्क्रीनिंग इज ऑलवेज देयर, एंड देन द गवर्नमेंट सुपरवाइजर्स they enforce the regulations. And how do they enforce the regulations? They monitor, inspect and examine banks to make sure that their business practices conform to regulatory requirement. कि वो जो है certain rules and regulations बनाते हैं, फिर supervise करते हैं banks, उनकी financial statement को examine करते हैं कि whether their business practices are as per the rules and regulations. अब पाकिस्तान में हमारे पास स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान इज द सुप्रीम अथॉरिटी इन द रेगुलेशंस ऑफ द बैंकिंग सेक्टर। तो जो जितने भी रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस हैं रिगार्डिंग द पाकिस्तान की बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री दे आर अवेलेबल। स्लाइड के ऊपर मैंने आपको एक साइट दी है www.sbp.org.pk। इफ यू विजिट दिस साइट, तो इस साइट पे यू कैन गेट द इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट सर्टेन रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन फॉर द बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री विच आर framed, formulated by our central bank, which is the State Bank of Pakistan. चंद एक रिक्वायरमेंट्स की या रूल्स की हम बात कर सकते हैं यहाँ पे, द इम्पोर्टेंट वंस। डिटेल जो है आपको इस साइट पे जाके पूरी मिल जाएगी। उनमें से जो पहली रिक्वायरमेंट है वो है आपके मिनिमम एसेट रिक्वायरमेंट, एसेट होल्डिंग रिस्ट्रिक्शन एंड मिनिमम कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट। The simplest way to prevent bankers from exploiting their safety net is to restrict banks' balance sheets. This can be done through restriction on the kinds of assets banks can hold and requirements that the minimum level of capital should be maintained by the bank. तो ये requirement अगर एक बैंक follow करता है, so there is always kind of a scenario in which we can say कि bank will not face that illiquid situation. बैलेंस शीट के ऊपर भी एसेट, लाइबिलिटीज, नेटवर्थ की कंपोजिशन को हम थ्रू रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन मॉनिटर कर सकते हैं। जैसे रिजर्व रिक्वायरमेंट है जो कि सेंट्रल बैंक इंपोज करता है ऑन कमर्शियल बैंक्स। Any percentage that varies from one country to another country, the banks, they have to follow that requirement. Similarly, central bank can also put a restriction on the amount of loan which a bank can extend to a single borrower. इससे ज्यादा नहीं हो सकती, इस पर्पस के लिए इससे ज्यादा नहीं हो सकती। So these are all rules and regulations through which we talk about a situation in which the possibility of the banking panic is minimized. Capital requirement take two basic forms. The first requires banks to keep their ratio of capital to assets above some minimum level, regardless of the structure of their balance sheet. The second requires banks to hold capital in proportion to the riskiness of their operations. इसके अलावा एक और रिक्वायरमेंट है जिसको हम कहते हैं डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट, कि बैंक जो है अपने सारे ऑपरेशंस, सारी ट्रांजैक्शन को ट्रांसपेरेंट रखे, फुल इंफॉर्मेशन वो प्रोवाइड करे, एंड हाउ दैट कैन बी डन थ्रू पब्लिशिंग देयर बैलेंस शीट and making that balance sheet available to the general public. Then comes supervision and examination. The government enforces banking rules and regulations through an elaborate oversight process called supervision, which relies on a combination of monitoring and inspection. Monitoring जो है, that can be done remotely. There is not a specific need that an agent of the central bank should be sitting in the commercial bank. That can be done remotely by examining the financial statement and analyzing the transactions which the bank has made throughout that time period. But examination में, on certain occasion, central bank का agent can visit the commercial bank and try to go through the books of the bank. At the largest institutions, examiners are on site all the time. This is called continuous examination. The most important part of a bank examination is the evaluation of past due loans to see if they should be declared in default. इस सारे examination में हमने ये कहा कि for the examination we need a person who is present on the spot. लेकिन अगर एक large institution है, at certain occasions ऐसा भी होता है कि एक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ऑफ द सेंट्रल बैंक रेगुलर बेसिस पे उस बैंक में बैठे. दिस इज नोन एज द कंटिन्यूअस एग्जामिनेशन. उसमें सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज जो ये एग्जामिनर एग्जामिन करता है, दैट इज द लोन पोर्टफोलियो ऑफ द बैंक, कि बैंक ने किस किस को लोन दिया हुआ है, क्या हिस्ट्रीज है, क्या उनके रीपेमेंट स्केड्यूल थे, क्या करंट पिक्चर है, एंड इज देयर अ सिनेरियो इन विच वी आर नॉट होपफुल दैट द बैंक इज गोइंग टू गेट दैट लोन बैक, तो शुड वी डिक्लेयर इट एज द बैड डेट. नाउ मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम हमारे जो सुपरवाइजर्स हैं, दे यूज अ कैमल अप्रोच ड्यूरिंग देयर सुपरविजन, CAMELS. This is a very popular approach in the banking sector. Now what does this CAMEL stand for? The CAMEL stands for C is the capital adequacy, A is asset quality, M is the management, E is earning, L liquidity, and S is the sensitivity to risk. कहने का मतलब ये है कि these are the areas which the supervisor would like to inspect and supervise during their examination of a particular bank or supervision of a particular bank. Now, the current practice is for examiners to act as consultant to the banks, advising them on how to get the highest return possible while keeping risk at an acceptable level that ensures the bank will stay in business. आजकल जो है, एक तो है supervisors का role कि they evaluate, they examine the banks on the basis of CAMEL's approach, where they are looking at the capital adequacy, risk, management, liquidity. All of these important aspects are monitored by the examiners. But at the same time, examiners जो हैं, they can also act as the consultant to the bank. वो बैंक को जो है, वो advice provide करते हैं कि how they can make more profit and they can keep their risk at the minimum possible level. तो ये तो था हमारा topic of the banking panic, the reasons for that, the role of the government in the form of the safety nets, and what safety nets are provided by the government through the central bank, and what are the problems created by the safety nets, and then how the central bank maintains the stability of the financial system through examination, supervision and regulation. सबसे पहले तो regulation बनते हैं देन उसकी सुपरविजन होती है, एंड देन ऑन स्पॉट एग्जामिनेशंस आर आल्सो डन। तो ये तो था हमारा आज का लेक्चर। बट लेट मी ब्रीफली गो थ्रू द टॉपिक्स वी हैव कवर्ड इन टुडेज लेक्चर बिफोर द कंक्लूजन ऑफ टुडेज लेक्चर। तो आज हमने शुरू किया था रिवीजन ऑफ द प्रीवियस लेक्चर, जिसमें हम नॉन डिपॉजिटरी फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन के बारे में बात कर रहे थे। देन वी स्टार्टेड टॉकिंग अबाउट द बैंक फेल्योर, व्हाई द फेल्योर टेक्स प्लेस, and then how they can be prevented. And then we also said it's a universal phenomena. Banking failure, banking panic, bank run, they are always there in one economy or the other economy. Then the role of the government through the central bank. And the central bank, they definitely make certain regulations, then supervise the banks, and then at times they also examine the bank's performance. In order to stabilize the financial system, the government opts for certain measures, जिसमें हम कहते हैं कि lender of the last resort, जिसमें एक solvent but illiquid बैंक जो है, जब एक रिक्वेस्ट करता है to meet the demand of the depositor from the central bank, तो सेंट्रल बैंक उनको लोन आउट करता है। और उसको हम ये भी कहते हैं कि वो जो बैंक ने बोरोइंग की है फ्रॉम द सेंट्रल बैंक, दैट इज द डिस्काउंट विंडो बोरोइंग। उसमें ये होता है कि हमारे बैंक जो हैं अपनी कुछ सिक्योरिटीज जो हैं वो सेंट्रल बैंक से डिस्काउंट करा लेते हैं, and then they meet the demand. But overall, our regulators through the central bank, they are there to make the regulations, to supervise the banking sector, and then examine them in order to stabilize the financial system. तो ये तो था हमारा आज का लेक्चर। इंशाल्लाह अगले लेक्चर में we'll talk about the modern central bank। अब इजाजत दीजिए, अल्लाह हाफिज।